Well, what's going on in the world? Well, EA doubled down on their social justice stance regarding Battlefield. In other news, the music of the future might all be selected by robots. I'm not even joking. And a bear kills a man in Japan. You're watching the Johnny Massacre Show. I know you really wanna go, but I don't wanna go, 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 go. No, I don't. I know you really wanna go, but I don't wanna go, 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 go. No, I don't. I know you really wanna go, but I don't wanna go, 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 go. No, I don't. I know you really wanna go, but I don't wanna go, 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 go. No, I don't. Hello everyone, how's it going? Your man Mr. Massacre here with some more video game and social justice news. So, EA are doubling down on their social justice stance. I'm sure you're aware that EA's game created by DICE took a lot of criticism because it had a female character in it who's one of the main protagonists apparently, and she's disabled, and the only reason she's in the game is for social justice, the developers looking down their noses at people in general, potential customers, and saying, if you don't support this game, you are a sexist. I mean, what the actual fuck? How has it gone from picking up magic mushrooms and tripping out and arse bashing enemies and Goombas in Mario to this confused political mess? I don't fucking know. You might have thought that EA learned their lesson when their shares have been plummeting for the last, year roughly, and due to the backlash against Battlefield 5, sales are down at least 50%, I believe, on the last Battlefield entry, and the game is at number 4 in the world charts, below, of course, 3 other titles, 2 of which were released a month or more before Battlefield, which means that is an appalling performance for the game. So, but they didn't learn from their mistakes, and now they're doubling down. This is so weird. Social justice is like a disease. Once it gets into your head and brainwashes you, and you think you're fighting for some kind of cause, you just descend into the mob mentality, and your neighbors on your left and right who are fighting for this same cause and this fictional enemy that's just created by the left-wing politicians in order to rally the masses, just takes over you, and you can't think for yourself anymore. So let's have a look at this. How do I know this? Well, check out, I mean, it's all over the internet. Have a look at this. That's quite a good name for an album, All Over the Internet, or a band or something. So WCCFtech.com says EA appears to mock Battlefield 5 gender field community complaints through the game's launch party. So they're obviously very hurt by people saying that they're a bunch of social justice warriors, and they feel like their beliefs are being attacked, and because they're ideological zealots, they feel that anyone who's criticizing the game is sexist, and they are doing their little bit of moral grandstanding in their chummy, incestuous Battlefield launch, probably with all the media in tow. And I'd just like to add that Metacritic scores are very important for developers and game companies, and I discovered recently that on Metacritic, which is an aggregator of games and movie and music and TV reviews, that the game reviewers, quite a lot of them are starting to mark games down for not incorporating social justice into their games. So EA does have some vested interest here with making social justice themes in their games because they want good reviews in Metacritic, and you can bet your ass there are a lot of social justice journalists at this meeting. Let's be honest, EA's job and DICE's job is just to make video games, and moreover is to make money. So all you have to do is appeal to your target audience, right? Battlefield is mostly played by men. Men love war games because men are in wars and women aren't. It's not rocket science, and no amount of history revision can change that. And so all you have to do is make the game for guys, make it blokey, make it macho, and make it realistic. What is more macho than a fucking war? Like men killing each other. That's what their job is. Their job is not to change the world and to spread social justice and try to do something morally good. Seriously, when is the last time a big company has ever really gone out of their way to do something nice and reduce their profits to do so? That ended pretty much with the fucking... Well, there's never been like that. The world has never been like that. People are cynical. People want to make money. And the big corporations are the last people who give a shit about morals. So why is this happening? Well, this is the interesting debate. Why are these people putting social justice things in their games if they're all about profit? Well, as I mentioned, Metacritic tried to force game companies into putting these themes in their games, or they will mark them down. There are examples of this. Have a look in the link below. I will link the video that proves that Metacritic reviewers, some of them are forcing developers to put social justice themes in their games. Left-wing ideology. So it is very, very confusing as to why exactly they're doing this when they're just a profit company, to state the obvious. But, well, we're seeing these themes quite a lot recently with Nike also putting Colin Kaepernick in their ad campaigns, and their shares have reduced since they put him in their ad campaigns, despite some articles claiming they didn't a few days after they did a product launch with his face. But actually, a few weeks afterwards or a month afterwards, Nike's shares have dropped. And likewise, so have EA's. And we're going to look at this now. So let's continue with the article, though, rambling a bit. The article says, it appears that publisher EA is mocking the complaints from the community about the historical accuracy of the recently released Battlefield 5. Look, just don't mock your fans. It doesn't work. You're not going to gain sales, and that's what you're here to do. Don't be suicidal. There's something deeply narcissistic about this. It feels like, to me, people do this, put social justice in games because they want to be good people. I think these are nihilistic people like me. I'm a nihilist. They probably don't believe in God, and they're looking for some kind of meaning in their lives, and they have to feel good about themselves. So actually, rather than trying to help someone for their own gain, in this case women and social justice, really they just do these things because they want to feel like good people themselves. It's all about themselves. I think it's just people who are getting paid too much money, living in their echo chambers, especially liberal echo chambers, which are very reverberant, and they are going up their own asses under the thinly veiled guise or veneer of something good morally. Going back to the article, EA Dice's decision to use a woman wearing a prosthetic limb fighting on the front lines in World War II. It's funny, that sounds like a joke, but it's real, as marketing for Battlefield 5 didn't sit too well with the Battlefield community. After many questions and complaints, former EA Patrick Sutherland said that Battlefield 5 is a lot about the unseen, the untold, the unplayed. No, it's not. Stop trying to spin it. Battlefield 5 is about war, World War history, and things that people know. That's the whole crux of the game. Is not the unknown. It's about the known. That's what history is. It's a bunch of facts. The guy's straight up contradicting himself. And he continues. He added, the common perception is that there were no women in World War II. There were a ton of women who both fought in World War II and partook in the war. No, there weren't. There weren't a ton of women who fought in the war. There was fuck all. It was mostly men. Have a look at the stats. It is true. And especially no disabled women who fit into some kind of social justice mold. That's just weird. You're fucking weird. You're a game developer. You're not a fucking politician. Idiot. Sutherland later implied that those complaining about females in Battlefield 5 are uneducated and that they don't understand a plausible scenario. So if you don't accept my social justice political brainwashing, you're an idiot. That's what he's saying. Again, going back to the beginning of this show, what is going on? What are these idiots doing? Liberal politics recently is all predicated around shaming and bullying and silencing and censoring, and it's become so prevalent that it's just infecting everything. And unfortunately, left-wing ideology is now in control of the world. I don't want to go on too much of a fucking tangent, but really, what are the biggest companies in the world? Amazon, Apple, Nike, all of the biggest movie companies and biggest music companies in the world are also left-wing. And even more scary is Google, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Basically, all of the most influential companies in the world that facilitate speech, in the case of the latter examples, and just facilitate society in general and the economy, are all hardcore left-wing. So is it any wonder that you're seeing shit like this in games? And it's kind of terrifying. I hope that people in general will always be kind of in the middle and not be so extreme, so that when you see shit like this, like social justice in Battlefield 5 and disabled women and weird political stuff infecting games, from the perspective of consumers and also the developers, people will see that this is weird and just take a step back from it. I really hope that's the case, because if not, we're all fucked. So Sutherland, this guy who's actually left the company now, surprise, surprise, is basically calling all of the potential fans, or all of Battlefield fans who don't like this stupid shit that they're putting in the game for no reason, uneducated. Now look at this picture. This is part of the launch party, and they've quoted some of the stuff on YouTube. Feminism ruins everything. Feminazis are trying to rewrite history. That's a fact. Feminism does ruin everything. Did you see when feminism infected the Ghostbusters movie? That's one of the worst movies ever. It's fucking terrible. Do you remember that woman, Anita Sarkeesian, who did that pioneered modern social justice with her YouTube videos saying how games are all sexist and fucked up? She made some video, check it out on YouTube, where she illustrates what she thinks a game should look like, and it's got a strong, empowered woman, and it looks so insipid and bland and forced, and it's not made for fun, it's made for an agenda. And that is why feminism is cancer, in the words of rather unfortunate Milo Yiannopoulos. And that's why this statement is true, that they're actually putting up there in their echo chamber to try to kind of deal with the problem that they're experiencing, deal with the shame of having people call them out on their own bullshit. And this is them trying to somehow avoid their realization of cognitive dissonance, where they actually share two opposing thoughts at the same time. So they actually feel kind of guilty about putting shitty stuff in the game. And the cognitive dissonance here is them saying that the shitty stuff in the game is actually some moral necessity. So they're like white knights that are going to come along and save the world from the evil white patriarchy. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the cognitive dissonance of EA and DICE. It's hard to keep going through this. It's like throwing acid in your face. But I just want you to know that EA are still cunts, and they're doubling down on their bullshit. I wasn't going to buy this game after I saw this kind of stuff, but after I saw a little bit more about the game, one of the stories where they rewrote history and rewrote all these valiant men out of the story, and then inserted two women instead of a team full of men who basically saved the day, and the woman also overpowers some hardcore soldier. And I saw that shit and I thought, this is like a baited banana. You know when you got to feed an elephant something like medicine, it doesn't eat it, so they put it inside a banana? That's what they're trying to do with like a blue pill. They're trying to blue pill you. They're trying to put it inside the food, which is the game, and give it to you, and then you consume it, and then you have that way of thinking. Why would anyone support this kind of stuff? It's so weird. The only people that support this kind of stuff are people who are bad people, and they need to virtue signal and make themselves look like good people, rather than actually doing something which requires effort. They can just say, I support the game, and then they're going to be good, appear to be good people. And that is the whole allure of social justice, and that's why it's fake and phony and bullshit. And that's all I have to say about that. So that's the main part of this video. That's probably why you clicked, because it's in the title. If you want to continue and stay on in this video, it's going to become a bit more of a vlog. I'm going to talk about some other kind of news not related to Battlefield, so you can just You can exit now if you're not interested in kind of weird random news from around the world, especially in Japan where I live. So in other news, okay, I'm a music producer, so this is interesting to me. Do you know what an A&R is? I actually can't even remember what it stands for, but the A&R is the guy who works for a record label who goes out to find artists and signs them because they sound good. So apparently there is now software out there which will do the A&R's work for them by picking out good music just by analyzing the songs. Isn't that terrifying? Imagine this becomes the future standard of finding good music. A computer just finds it for you, and then you look at that list and all the other stuff is expelled. Well, there is technology like that at the moment. It's called Musio. Check this out. So soundonsound.com, this is a British magazine, very long running, about music and audio technology, says Musio harness AI to help artists get discovered. Deep learning AI created to help musicians sell songs. So the article says music technology startup Musio create AI-based platforms for major record labels, music aggregators, and production music libraries. And what their technology does could help your music get discovered. Fundamentally, their AI is designed to make searching a large catalogue of music more manageable. How it does that, though, is entirely based on the audio, ignoring all commercial factors such as number of followers, streams, or media coverage. So that could be good. That would mean your music can still be discovered if you don't have a lot of social media following. By using deep learning AI, Musio can identify traits such as recording quality, perceived skill of the artist, genre, presence of a vocal, and more. How the fuck does the computer measure recording quality? Because one person has a completely different idea to another. I recently read a review of the Beatles' remastered White Album, and I master my own stuff, as you can see, and I hated the mastering on that. I thought it sounded like shit. The original was way better, and that's why the originals were classics. But plenty of other reviewers said, oh, it's really, really great. So, you know, they might be all kind of, they might have an agenda like fucking the press, you know, reviewing video games and, you know, shaking hands with EA's dick like we mentioned earlier. But still, the point is everyone has a very kind of subjective opinion. So how can a computer determine recording quality? That's very interesting. And perceived skill, how can a computer do that? Because, okay, you might have a guitar sample, right, which is actually quantized and ordered by the computer, but it sounds real. So then the computer's going to think, wow, this guy's an amazing guitar player. And you can actually steal notation from all kinds of songs online and input that into the computer. So, okay, then that is literally good quality playing if you're stealing it from online. But the point is, if you're looking for a really good artist, you want to be able to know if they're good at playing or not. And so if they use digital samples, it might confuse the computer into thinking they're better than they really are. For record labels, it works like this. An A&R, okay, I've already told you. So an A&R person teaches the AI. Okay, no, this is actually talking about how the A&R uses the software. So the A&R person teaches the AI what sort of music they'd like to sign. Then it analyzes and returns a sensible playlist of tracks from newly released music online. I mean, come on, even Siri voice recognition can barely get it right half of the time. And that's just a linear process of hearing the words and trying to transform it into text. But this is about feeling. You know, music is this almost spiritual thing. It kind of pulls our heartstrings and reaches right down into the soul. How the fuck can ones and zeros analyze that? CEO Hazel Savage explains, if there are 30,000 songs being released every day and you as an A&R person only listen to 20, you're definitely not going to find the majority of tracks that fit your criteria. But if we can listen to 30,000 and give you the top 20 we think you'll like, your coverage jumps from less than 1% to 100%, and your accuracy is going to massively improve. Composers for music catalogs could very well benefit from this technology too. That's because Musio's AI allows audio referencing. Think of it like Google's reverse image search for music, but instead of finding the track you search, it returns tracks that sound similar. So when the catalog managers, that's a typo, it says managers here. So when the catalog managers get a request for a track that sounds a bit like X, they can literally ask the AI to find tracks that fit the sonic profile. There are even options for how experimental the AI should be in looking beyond set parameters. It still needs the human to come in and see the potential, says Savage. Just to close that gap between what is and isn't being heard is where we start. We don't make any claims to perfection at the moment, but we're 99% more effective than the existing solution. I don't know, mate. I mean, crate digging is an art. Crate digging is looking through record collections or records in stores to try to find a hidden gem. And that's where all the great discovery of life comes, right? It's a person or a group toiling away, like the people who found the fucking pyramids in a barren wasteland and then digging something through the dirt. I'm sorry, but something that requires a lot of effort to be good cannot usually be replaced by computers. So sports, for example, you want to be a great athlete, you can use all the fucking computers and technology you want to try to make a great sportsman or find a great sportsman. And I guess it can locate things, but really you have to see it with your own eyes, and you have to have a human experience. And I know this because in football they use a lot of this kind of technology where it analyzes all the data and then it gives the kind of manager a pool from which they can choose from. And I've seen plenty of players chosen from these stats that ended up being shit because the team I support, Arsenal, bought one of these statistics teams. So yeah, you can say that if you use these automated methods, at least it gives you a pool of players to choose from. So I think that would be a positive of this Museo service. But to actually pick out the songs that are going to be good, I think it requires a lot of effort. And yeah, it's this is never going to be the solution. But yeah, as long as it augments the human capabilities, I don't have a problem with it, really. Ultimately, this is a tool that lets music labels and production libraries dive deeper than ever before into both their own catalogues and new material. The hope is that this will result in more songs being sold, licensed and discovered, because when it comes to the AI, the audio speaks for itself. Well, some of the most interesting songs are so off the wall and crazy, and that would confuse the fuck out of a computer. You know, sometimes, a lot of the times, well, traditionally, songs confuse the fuck out of humans, let alone the computer. Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, that is famous because in the industry, in the record label industry, there's a story, and it's also illustrated in the recent movie for Queen, about how none of the radio stations wanted to play it because it was too long, and no one wanted to make it the lead single because it was too weird. So even humans can't comprehend original music with great potential. So how the fuck is a computer? Finally, Museo's AI is not currently available to the public, though you may benefit from its use elsewhere in the music industry. The company is currently offering private demos to record labels and music libraries. So check out museo.com if you want to know more about this automated music A&R service. I thought that was pretty interesting. In final news for today, a bear has killed a man in Japan. So if you're a regular on the show, you'll know I like these crazy animal stories. So let's have a look at this. Pet black bear kills caretaker, says the article written by Japan Today. Raymond Roig is the author. A bear standing 1.3 meters tall and weighing an estimated 50 kilograms attacked and killed a Japanese man who was found inside the animal's cage, police said Monday. Neighbors heard Soichiro Mori, 56, screaming for help at a house in Toride, Ibaraki Prefecture, on Sunday morning, according to a police spokesman. When the neighbor went to the house, an injured person was found in the cage, the spokesman told AFP. The 15-year-old Asian black bear was owned by a 70-year-old man who kept the animal in a cage in his house. According to public broadcaster NHK, Mori was the bear's caretaker who had been hired by its owner. Mori was rushed to hospital but pronounced dead later Sunday, the police spokesman said. The owner, who has not been named, had an official permit to keep the bear, which is legal in Japan. Fuck me, you can get permits to own bears in Japan. Well, fuck it, I'll just get me a cage, lock it in my studio, prod it with sticks, starve it a bit, and then let it loose upon my enemies. The comments in this section are kind of gold. It shows you how modern journalism is basically being replaced by amateur journalism. And the internet's funny because I've noticed, especially through doing the Johnny Massacre show, people who watch or people who consume this media, kind of modern media, they're so sensitive to any mistakes at all. They'll point it out in detail in the comments. So you've really got to be on the ball. So back in the days, media outlets could get away with this lazy reporting. But in the comment section for this black bear death, you can see how there's loads of people correcting the information and saying how it's wrong. So I guess the reason I'm reading this article is not so much because of the bear, but just to show you how modern media is very much dictated by what the people say, which is one of the good things about modern media. So Chipstar, the commenter, says, moral of the story, don't keep wild animals as pets. I agree with that. Yubaru says, quite a bit different than the one in the picture, that's for sure, because it says the bear stood 1.3 meters tall and was 50 kilograms. I'm like 70, I'm like 85 kilograms, so I'm way bigger than this bear. So that looks like some fucking monster bear. So they're obviously kind of fear-mongering a bit and clickbaiting with that picture that's probably not representative of the animal that really killed the guy. Also, the Yubaru, the commenter, says he was not the full-time keeper. According to Japanese news, he occasionally helped to watch the bear. And yeah, let's have a look at some other comments, shall we? This guy, Bintaro, what a legend. He linked to an actual Japanese news article, and he said there's a video where the cage can be seen. The article seems to be mistaken about the weight, as Japanese reports 110 kilograms, not 50, which is a pretty big difference. And that makes sense, because when I heard the bear was 50 kilograms, I thought it probably isn't that scary. Sounds like a baby bear. But still, the guy is 70 years old, so he could be killed by a adolescent bear. But let's go on to the actual Japanese site. Have a look at this cage. That's the cage where the bear was being kept. I guess it's a cage, but it's more like well, it's not a complex either, but when you think of cage, you think of those fucking Looney Tunes cartoons with an animal like trapped in it, rattling the bars. But this is a rather fucking large one, much bigger than most zoos. So let's play this video. I guess they're looking at it via helicopter, some intrusive journalism there. It's fucking massive. I'm telling you, mate, any animal in a zoo would be lucky to have a cage that big. So yeah, watch out. Don't go into cages with bears, kids, because you're probably going to die. Anyways, let's talk about my life. Yesterday, I was out of it. I had quite a nice sleep. I got about 6 or 7 hours, so I'm up and I'm ready for the day. And yeah, it's all my laundry is fucking wet, so I'm just wearing this fucking my Blade Runner style leather jacket, and yeah, nothing particularly exciting going on. So there is nothing going on in my life whatsoever, but Christmas is coming. I'm feeling quite Christmassy. I do like the Christmas spirit. I am not religious. I'm an atheist, or maybe I'm agnostic, but either way, there's nothing wrong with partaking in a little bit of tradition, especially the tradition which built the Western world and made it into this great free place that it is. So I do like the old Christmas songs, mate. I like the carols. I like the fucking mince pies. I don't eat the mince pies. My mother makes great mince pies. Mince pies are sexy. Do you know what I like about mince pies is that everyone has a slightly different taste. And even though it's such a basic recipe, it's just pastry with some fucking fruit shit in, they all taste different. So it's a bit like a bit of a lottery when you eat the mince pies. And my mum's mince pies are fucking legendary. I like them because they look a bit rough, but they taste fucking delicious, and there's nothing like a homemade mince pie. So I'm getting in the Christmas spirit. I'm looking forward to the Christmas vibes on the way up to Christmas, and thinking about going back to the UK to visit my family. I'm not quite sure yet, but I'm going to decide this week, hopefully. So that's about it, really, for today's Johnny Massacre show. I hope you liked it. I'll be back with a reaction to the Captain Marvel trailer later today or tomorrow. So hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you tomorrow.